Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Wallace.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. And also, hello. It's been so long.
I know.
For those of you that don't know, this is my aunt. We are family. And you are an incredibly accomplished music person. I don't know how I haven't had you on the show earlier. So thank you for making the trip.
Thank
you. I guess
you
you were here for other things.
Yeah, but it was just an overnight. And when I found out I get to talk to Jimmy and spend time, I was not going to miss that.
Yes. Well, very glad to have you here. But as this show is not about our family reunion, it's about the music. Let's go ahead and get into it. And we're going to start right at the beginning. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Well, let's see. I've been with my husband for 35 years, so Tinder is not a thing.
Yes.
But I am a professional opera singer. Mm-hmm. I'm based in the greater Los Angeles area, technically Los Alamitos, which, if you know the area, it's kind of like right next to Long Beach, near Seal Beach. It's a little more mellow than being up in the valley.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, what got you into music initially? What was the start for you?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure specifically, quite frankly. There was always kind of music around in the house. My parents were not musicians, but, I sang in the junior choir at church when we still lived in the Midwest. But mostly when we moved out to California. And for some reason, I started falling in love with MGM musicals. Honestly, my sister, your mother,
yes,
is probably partly to blame for that.
Fully understandable.
Yeah, so by the time I was in junior high, I was like, oh, I'm going to be in the next Judy Garland or something like that. And then when I got to high school, I had been in drama class prior to getting there, but the drama class was full. So I end up, in Girls' Glee or whatever it was, but just something clicked, and I just loved learning the music, performing, etc. And after one semester there, the choir director had noticed me, mainly because I had auditioned for the musical that year, and I'm the only one that wasn't in choir proper that got in it. But she asked me if I could change my schedule around and be in, regular full choir, and I made that happen. And about the time I was in 11th grade, in my family, my upbringing, it was not a matter of will you go to college, but where will you go to college? And there was a girl a year or two older than me that I, kind of admired. And she was going to this school up in Spokane and studying music. And I was like, maybe I'll apply there and I'll just major in music until I think of something better to do. I have not.
Still working on it.
Still working on it. I mean,
So you went to school in Washington then?
I did 1 year.
Okay.
In Spokane at Whitworth.
Gotcha. Where did you go after that?
I transferred back down to the LA area and went to the California Institute of the Arts.
Gotcha. Okay. And have you been in the LA area ever since?
Yeah, I never really left after that.
Okay.
I mean, I have traveled and done some things, but as far as home base, it's been Southern California for the majority of my life.
Gotcha. Okay. And do you play any instruments, or are you primarily a vocalist?
I'm primarily a vocalist. Taught myself guitar when I was in high school. Again, I was emulating my big sister. But I just knew basic chords, campfire stuff in the Girl Scouts.
Enough to do words over.
Exactly. And, my calluses are long gone. And whereas I kind of know where some of the chords were, I have not picked up a guitar probably in at least 35 years.
That's fair. I've never been much of a guitar player myself. That's exciting, man. For those of you who don't know, I'm learning some of this for the first time myself as well. So there will be a few moments where I'm just taking this in as the person versus the person interviewing. But before we get into more of what you do in the present day, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on.
Okay.
This first one, it's one we ask early. It's one we ask often. It's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
It's another good question. First of all, remember that would be in the early 70s. Mm-hmm. There's a cool answer and the not so cool answer, and it could be either. Could have been Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Okay.
Or it could have been Barry Manilow.
That would have also been okay. I think those are both good answers.
It was a time and a space.
Well, I mean, growing up, there was I had plenty of cool artists around, but I also really liked Enya. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we all have stuff that we're it wasn't exactly what was hip with exactly everything else that was at that time, but it's still good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was hip with my age category at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to? That was specifically one you wanted to go to. So you saw it was happening, you got the tickets, you went to it. And some of them maybe a little bit bigger production. It's not just a local, group of people you knew.
Yeah. If it was something that I planned and purchased the tickets myself, I've got to say the Bee Gees 4th of July weekend tragedy tour at Dodger Stadium.
Whoa.
I turned 18 maybe 2 or 3 months before that.
I bet that was a really cool show.
It was, but you know what? It was festival seating and, it was all sitting on the outfield.
Yeah.
And it was really cool during the day. And then once the concert proper started, the entire crowd just rushed forward. I was totally separated from my friend that I was there with. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll see you again in 2 or 3 hours. And we did find each other again. Oh, yeah. But that was a surprise to me because I'd never experienced anything like that.
Ah, fair. That's fair. I'm going to share with you mine because I know you're going to love this story. My first show was Ozfest 2005 with your sister.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Mom took me to my first real show.
Cool.
Dad wouldn't let me go down in the Bay Area with all my friends. And Mom was like, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, my first concert with your mother was actually one that our dad took us to. Uh-huh. The tickets were basically for me. Mm-hmm. She came along and George did as well. That's our older brother. Mm-hmm. For those that don't know.
Shout out to Uncle George.
Dad took us to see the Osmond Brothers.
Whoa.
And I was thrilled to go. Mm-hmm. But, I was 12, so I didn't buy it myself.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. I guess that is the caveat to the question, but that is still a cool experience. Yeah. And actually, now I'm a little curious. This will still count in the realm of questions, but this is for me one. What were your parents' music relationships? I know they didn't really play, but would they put it on and dance around, or did they just kind of have it casually everywhere? What was their relationship with music like?
Have you ever heard the story of how they met? Because it was musical.
No.
Okay. So they were both students at the University of Michigan. Mm-hmm. My mom was a freshman, Dad was a sophomore. Mm-hmm. And, there were concerts on campus all the time, but let's face it, it was 1950. It was a lot of classical concerts. Mm-hmm. There was a Danish Wagnerian tenor named Lauritz Melchior. Mm-hmm. And he was performing at the theater on campus. Totally separate of one another. They had each purchased tickets, and they ended up seated next to each other. And my dad, who was not a real super talkative guy, but he was obviously, there was something that he noticed. Mm-hmm. And so he took the opportunity after going through the program, and he pointed at the final piece on the program, which was Some Enchanted Evening. Mm-hmm. This was a year after South Pacific had opened on Broadway. Mm-hmm. And with their own families, they'd each gone to see it. Huh. And the lead in that production was also an opera singer named Ezio Pinza. Mm-hmm. And he pointed at Some Enchanted Evening and said to my mother, "I wonder if he'll sing it as well as Pinza." And one thing led to another. He walked her back to the dorm, asked if he could call on her in the future. Within 6 months, they knew they were getting married, even though neither of their parents would permit it until they had both graduated college.
Yes.
But there was a lot of classical music in the house. They used to have Saturday radio broadcasts from the Metropolitan Opera, mm-hmm. and they'd listen to that every week. The one weekend a month where we'd go down to Toledo to visit my dad's parents, mm-hmm. it would be on in the car, and George, Sue, and I would just be in the back of the car, honestly hating it.
Yeah.
But
it's a hard thing to get kids to sit through.
We were kids, but there was no choice, and it's not like we had tablets or anything back then.
Yeah. But what they put on was on.
Yeah. So, but they listened to other popular music of the day. They had Simon and Garfunkel. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of Glenn Campbell. They might have had a Carpenter's album or two, but there was also a lot of classical music. So it was a mix of that and tamer pop music of the 60s, the early 60s.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it was always kind of around.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Now, before we get into more of what you do in the present day, mm-hmm. do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take all of this more seriously?
It was probably halfway through my freshman year up in Spokane when I'm like, nothing else is really interesting. I'm not going to any of these other classes. Mm-hmm. I just am really enjoying learning this. And this at the time was my introduction to performing opera. Mm-hmm. Learning the languages, learning the stories, learning the history of vocal technique, which is just stuff that's been passed down for the last 400 years.
Yeah. Well, there were no microphones way back then.
Exactly. So. Well, and we still normally don't use them unless for recording or unless we're doing a more modern piece that was scored in a way where microphones are necessary. Mm. But yeah, my normal job singing opera is in a 3,200 seat house with no amplification.
That's incredible.
There are floor mics, so, you've got the monitor feed going through downstairs so we can hear everything. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, there's some incredible voices.
The whole time I always thought those mics were pointed outwards, not inwards. Mm-hmm. I learned something new today.
There you go.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
Why don't we go ahead and get into more of the present day then? And let's just get a kind of a surface level one out of the way so just kind of people can know where you're at. What do you do presently, as of today?
As of today, I am a chorister at Los Angeles Opera. Mm-hmm. I have been there. This will be the beginning of my 40th season mm-hmm. because I started in the company's very first production.
Yes.
In addition to that, partly because, the opera career is wonderful. It's longer than dance careers or something like that. But the time comes when it's going to be time for me to not be on that stage anymore,
Yes.
hold the door open for people behind me. So I've been exploring some new things, and for the last 2 decades, I've been volunteering as part of the leadership of our union, which is the American Guild of Musical Artists, aka AGMA.
Yes.
And I am currently on a temporary staff position with the union.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, trying it out, seeing things from the other side. I already had a lot of knowledge of the union from the member side, but I'm learning a lot of the intricacies of how everything happens, and it's really fascinating and I'm loving it.
I actually we're going to stay on that I'm asking more about opera in a little bit.
Sure.
When you first got to be in there, so when you went as a staffed member, now you're part of the team, now you're in there. What are those conversations like? What is the general obviously I don't need you to give us the minutes, but what is the primary focus there on the inside? On
the staff side?
Yeah.
In our union, it's servicing the membership, negotiating contracts, talking with signatories, managements when there are issues, trying to work them out without escalating to a higher, more legal level, and I've only been doing that for 6 weeks. So it's very new, but I've also just even in the last 6 weeks, the experiences, it's like this thing happened, which of course I can't disclose.
Yeah.
But this thing happened. I was sent emails. I started communicating with the company over the weekend. And by Sunday night, the thing was basically settled. So a lot of it is reactionary.
Yeah. Well, you have so much on the ground experience, like you said. You have so much of the what you need to do and then what happens after it gets done. So now it's more you almost have that piece in the middle now of the what happens to get it done.
Exactly.
But I imagine you've also learned a lot of the steps along the way of how to prepare best for it, what to who to ask for these and that. So I imagine your experience is probably a little more fine-tuned at the moment, being the newest member and having done that for so long.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of on-the-job training, but since I do have the background, they've actually been throwing a few more things at me than they might normally for someone this new on staff, because I used to be the member calling the staff person saying, hey, this problem is happening and we need to fix it.
Yeah.
And now I'm the one receiving the call. So it's kind of a logical step when you think of it.
Yeah.
And it's a temporary position. I'm scheduled to go back on stage later this fall, probably October-ish. But I'm loving this experience, and who knows, it might lead to something when I do retire from the stage.
Yeah.
I just don't know yet.
Well, I mean, that would be a good place to go to.
Yeah.
It would definitely you'd be able to use a lot of your lived experience in a really useful way to get back to more musicians and people in the art of music.
Exactly. And, for the previous 22 years that, I've sort of become sort of this member leader in my shop and then also at the national level. It's I never had kids, and it's all my members kind of become my kids because I care about them. I want to make sure that I do right by them, that they are safe, and that their issues get handled. It's not always going to end the way the member wants it to.
No.
Because it's not a perfect world for a single person.
Yes.
But yeah, this seems like a next logical step, and I'm happy to get at least a little taste of it for right now, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, very much so. And hopefully once you have both experiences, at the very least, you'll be able to offer some consult to either party. You know what I mean? I hope that you get to interact with that for a while, because that does sound like a good fit.
Yeah.
I would love to know more about how that ends up going. So please keep me posted if you end up sticking with it for a while.
Absolutely.
I have more questions. But let's get back to things that you've done for more than 6 weeks.
Sure.
Primarily opera. Now, for those who know opera, I imagine there's a lot more that goes into it. But for the people who are not as versed in the world of opera, it does appear to be just a lot of people singing loudly in Italian. I imagine
French or German.
Yes. See, in my head, it's only Italian even. I don't know why. But opera is, like you said, it's one of the oldest forms of music. It is powerful. It is commanding. It tells stories. What are just some of the like aspects of opera that you enjoy the most?
The storytelling is a lot of it. And honestly, you know, if you're a performer, you're a performer, and you just get kind of that kick being on stage, even if you're the third peasant from the left.
Yes.
Which I often am. Uh-huh. There are some productions where the chorus is more involved. Mm-hmm. We did a fantastic piece just a few months ago, a more modern piece called Aina de Mar, which is in Spanish, but it's telling sort of bits and pieces of the story of the poet Federico Garcia Lorca. And, you know, the fact, basically, he was murdered by the Franco regime for the crime of speaking of love. And, of course, for loving people that he chose.
Yes.
So, but there's so many different stories that can be told. A lot of the music is written by old dead white men and might seem irrelevant.
Yes.
However, if you've ever seen the musical Rent, that's the story of La Boheme. That's where it came from. There are also a lot of musical themes in operas that have been picked up in lots of other popular culture things.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can't watch an old Bugs Bunny cartoon without hearing it.
No, very much so.
And another one, if you see Phantom of the Opera, the main song music of the night, take a listen to, I think it's the Act 2 tenor aria in Puccini's Girl of the Golden West. It's almost a direct lift. So much so that there were questions from the Puccini Foundation when Andrew Lloyd Webber released that. I have no idea how that came out. Yeah.
Fair. Wow. That is... Oh man, I'm not even quite sure like the depth of opera. So I wish I'd had a little more time to prepare for this side of it, but did not find out about this super soon or till very recently. Fun question. Who are some of the people you listen to now in opera?
Whoever's on stage with me. I generally don't listen to opera for pleasure anymore.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Because I used recordings, you know, as a study tool when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed them and enjoyed that discovery. But nowadays, if I'm like in my car or just chilling at home, you know, we're listening to mostly like 70s stuff. Little on the mellow side, try to avoid the disco, even though I have the Bee Gees in my past. But I enjoy hearing new stuff too. Every now and then I'll be on a different station and I'll hear something I'm like, that's really interesting. And I'll take a look, see who was doing it. And it's like, okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a question I had for later is do you stay up on current music?
I mean, not super duper current.
That's okay. You're not missing much. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, you know, it's a lot of the classic rock in our house.
That's fair.
Because, you know, 50 years later, a lot of that stuff is still really good.
I'm finally getting to the point where I'm like, sometimes I just want to listen to music I know the words to. Like, just so I can kind of like interact with it on a slightly less passive level.
Yeah.
And that's so hard to do with the newest music because I don't know the words yet.
Yeah.
And it takes so long to learn them.
And you don't have the albums with the liner notes that contain the lyrics. You have to look them up online and stuff.
I actually, when I was younger and I wanted to learn lyrics, if I couldn't do it by like repeatedly playing the song, I wrote them down and then eventually started typing them because I found out my handwriting is bad.
Same.
But yeah, I always tried to take that approach and then say I would just like hit play, stop, back up, make sure I got the word right. And then I found out you could look lyrics up online. I was like, Oh.
Well, now you can.
Yes, fair. But even when the words were in the book, I always wanted to like write it.
Yeah.
Because I always thought it was a cool way to kind of attach to the words.
Yeah. I like that too. And quite frankly, if I'm on my way to like a rehearsal or something, it's a great way to warm up. I'll sing my 70s music on the way to my opera rehearsal.
Yeah, because you'll know the notes for sure, and you can find the ones that are good. That's a clever idea.
And I harmonize with it too.
I do that too.
Yeah.
Now I know where that comes from. Okay. Now, I had a question from something you were saying earlier. This isn't exactly a direct question, but it's a fun one. When there are like movies that are adaptations of like old plays and like performances and such, do you enjoy those, or do you always end up like comparing them to their early versions?
I try to treat every work of art on its own. Mm-hmm. There are some things you can't help but say, oh, that remake was horrible. I want to see the original or hear the original again. A lot of times in the more recent productions of older pieces, mm-hmm. they've gotten so innovative, you know, whether it's a film or something live. Mm-hmm. I was like, I wasn't able to go, but this past weekend they did 3 performances of Jesus Christ Superstar at the Hollywood Bowl.
Whoa.
With Cynthia Erivo as Jesus and Adam Lambert as Judas. And I have a friend that was singing in the backup chorus for it and who was just raving about the whole process during rehearsals. I have at least 20 friends that sometime over this last weekend saw it, and they said it was one of the most amazing things they've ever seen.
That's incredible.
So you can remount something in a fresh and new way to bring it to either refresh it for the old audience or bring it to the new audience.
Yeah. I bet that is a really cool experience.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on, oh my gosh, I should know this one. Oh my God, is it Hamilton? Is that the one that's the more modern?
I loved Hamilton.
That was the first time I had ever experienced that crossover.
Yeah.
Are there many other things like that out right now, or is that kind of the forefront of that experience?
That was the first one I was really aware of, you know, because I've never been super fan of like rap music or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It just is not my thing.
Yeah.
But I had heard good things about the show. I got the cast album, and I just, you know, 10 years ago we had CD players in the car. I just plugged it in the CD player and listened, and I was so enthralled. And so, yeah, that show was great.
Yeah. Somebody showed it to me, did not tell me that it was an opera, or like that it was not just standard musical singing. And so I was very thrown off pretty much right from the start, but it was a really cool experience. I'm glad I got to watch it as well.
Yeah, and I resisted it at first because I'm like, oh, a rap musical? What's that going to be like? But then I gave it a chance.
Yeah.
And boy, is it great.
Have you seen it live?
Yes. Twice.
Oh,
Twice? Man. Yeah, twice.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Do you go to a lot of operas outside of when you're working on them?
Sometimes. For me, a lot of it is supporting friends that are doing work. Every now and again, there'll be something that just sounds cool. And if I'm available, I go. Part of the problem, though, that you probably relate to when you're a performer, it's hard to see other things because you're always in rehearsal or performing yourself.
Yes. Yeah, I have not gotten to go to many live shows because I talk to all these people that do live shows.
Yeah.
I fully understand that. Now, you've performed in many different spaces, stages, different size rooms, different size audiences, different styles and performances. Do you have one? Like if like money was no option, if settings were no option, you could kind of do it anywhere, be anywhere. What would your ideal performance setting look like?
I never really thought of that. As a soloist or with like groups of people, or what sort of thing are we talking about?
Let's do both. So we'll do one where it's just you, and then one where like it's you and an accompaniment of your choice.
Just me. I don't mind a smaller, intimate venue. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I don't necessarily want to see people's faces. So, and that would be a circumstance where I'm just performing music that I love because I love it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, we're going all genres there. There'll be a little opera. There'll be like, a 70s love song. Get my Karen Carpenter on as best I can,
Throwing a little bit of bop. No.
Yeah. Never quite went there, but yeah.
That's fair.
And for like, the big full show performance type of stuff. I mean, I already work at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, which is great. I've performed at the Hollywood Bowl. That's 17,000 seats. I've performed at, 1,000-seat theaters. Mm-hmm. For me, it's more about the work itself and the people I'm with mm-hmm. than it is about the venue.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that was a very experienced answer. Okay, now I tried to do my best to like put together a list of all the like notable things you've been a part of.
Oh gosh.
But this is a long list. Still scrolling. So rather than read all of these off to people, because they can see it on your IMDb, which you have an IMDb, which I think is pretty cool all on its own.
It showed up one day.
It's full of things, but I would love to know. I have a certain one I want to ask you about, but first I would like to hear, out of all the like interesting and like accredited people you've worked with, who were some of the more like fun ones to work with?
Again, another really difficult question. Gosh, you're good at this. I'd have to go the idol route, if that's okay. When I was first learning all this stuff, mm-hmm. there's a great mezzo who is still around. Mm-hmm. She's not singing anymore, but she still teaches, named Marilyn Horn. Mm. And she is just a kick and a half. Mm-hmm. I've worked with her really only 2 times. Mm. The first time there wasn't a lot of interaction. The second time, I was doing the alto solos in the Beethoven Ninth for Long Beach Symphony. Ooh. And that was the second half of the program, which is really lengthwise, probably closer to 3/4. The first part of the program was a piece by Aaron Copland called Portrait of Lincoln, where it's narration. Mm-hmm. But because she's actually from Long Beach, and she had sung the 50th anniversary concert mm-hmm. with them as the alto soloist, and I was there for the 75th. Mm-hmm. She made a point to find me afterwards, or actually to beckon me over, and I was so thrilled to be beckoned, because we all have voice crushes when we're first learning. She was my mezzo crush. Mm. And she beckoned me over to her and paid me the best compliment I've ever had. And this will only make sense to anyone who has ever heard the Beethoven Ninth or is familiar with the alto solos in it. Mm-hmm. She said, "Darling, you were wonderful, and I could actually hear you in every part where it's possible for the mezzo to be heard." That was honestly probably one of the peaks of my career.
Wow.
Not a lot. Another one was I did a world premiere of Stephen Schwartz's only opera.
Interesting.
Seance on a Wet Afternoon. He was in my audition. He chose to hire me. He was there through all of the rehearsals. And working that close with the composer of Pippin, mm-hmm. which was like, I loved that show. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I probably strayed from the actual question, but...
No, those were phenomenal answers to the question. Okay. And now it's going to make my question feel a little dwarfed. But I did notice when I was going through the list That, and this is one I think my audience would like to know. So I'm going to ask it here. But you were on Busta Rhymes' title track for the 2009 album Back on My Bullshit.
I certainly was. We recorded 2 versions. One that was bullshit and one that was BS.
Yes, because radio.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Can you please tell me that story?
It was so random. If you hear the title track, it opens about 45 seconds of singers singing the text Back on My Bullshit to the tune of the Beethoven Fifth Symphony, which is all instrumental and doesn't have singers.
Yes.
One of my friends who contracts gigs, got a call. They needed opera singers. The recording was like at 10 or 11 at night in some random studio like in North Hollywood. I couldn't even tell you where it was.
Very on brand.
Definitely not my normal type of studio. And they just said, hey, we need some singers to do this. Are you available? And I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can claim that I have recorded a piece for Busta Rhymes. He wasn't actually there when we recorded.
That was going to be my next
Sorry.
Kind of had a feeling, but still, that's cool. And I imagine a lot of instances happen like that in the like Southern California area, because that seems to be a prominent place for just creation.
Yeah.
You've been there for a while. You've seen it grow. You've seen it, rise, fall, turn into what it is now. For specifically, I guess, the path of an opera singer, has that fluctuation been similar, or like has it been pretty straightforward all the way through because opera's been around for so long?
I mean, my path in the actual opera world, pretty similar to pretty much anything. The bonus of living in LA is the studio work. Now, for us, classical singers, we're normally not called for, records. I've done 2. I did the Busta, and then I also did one for Josh Groban. He had a, big choir on some piece that we thought was going to be huge, and it's just a track on an album now. But there's a lot of studio work for us recording film soundtracks. Oh. I've only done a handful, and it was back earlier in my career, because even though all opera singers are pretty versatile, and put music in front of us, we can sing it.
Yes.
Some are better at masking the operatic sound than others.
Fair.
And I can do that, but I'm not as skilled as some of my colleagues. And I can sight read music, but I'm not what they call, a read it down singer, where it's just going to be, give me the music, it'll be perfect the first time. No, I'm going to do 2 or 3 times, and then I'm comfortable with it. But yeah, I mean, I recorded like on Whoopi Goldberg's first film, Burglar.
Whoa.
That was my first soundtrack. I did Empire of the Sun. I also did Jackass 3D. Yeah.
What? That's not on your IMDb.
No, that's because the studio, that kind of soundtrack singing work, it is for some people now, like the Disney and Pixar stuff always lists the choir. And I'd say half of those choirs are friends of mine.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the opening of Jackass 3D, it's another pseudo-operatic thing. I'm not on screen.
Fair.
But there were 10 of us in Studio A at Columbia in Hollywood recording it.
Well, that's cool.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've done things in Studio A 3 or 4 times. There's some friends of mine that are there, 5, 6 times a year.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It
now,
is.
have you recorded any of your own music?
I have had live performances of mine recorded. I have not done the studio thing, with the exception of a close friend was getting married. Date got moved. I had conflicting performances. I recorded 2 pieces for that wedding.
Gotcha.
But that's basically it.
Well, we happen to have them right here. No.
No, you don't. I don't even have them.
Fair enough. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess when you're recording for other people all of the time and often performing already put together music, not a lot of need to record a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, back in the day when I was still coming up and doing auditions for young artist programs and stuff like that, or trying to find an agent in classical music, which I never did. But, you had to do some recording. Nowadays, it's absolutely obligatory and it's video.
Yes.
Back in my day, it was just audio and you did the best you could. And they weren't expecting perfection, those types of things. It was just for people to listen to say, oh, do we want to bring this person in for a live audition?
Yeah.
And I got some stuff out of that and other things I didn't get. And that's fine. They just went in a different direction than me.
Fair.
Yeah.
Now, that didn't stop you, though, from ending up at least on TV a couple of times.
At least once.
Yeah. Well, there was, my notes here say there was Chuck.
Yep.
And then, where am I? Oh, there's so many to scroll through. And then, were you on Identity?
I was. Are you even familiar with that show?
Loosely, but I would need you to remind me.
Yeah. It was an experiment that NBC did. It was hosted by Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller. And there were, I think, 15 people on stage. And then there was a list of 15 occupations. And it was technically a game show. And the contestant had to match the occupation with the person. In some cases, they would, do their best to mask the occupation, and others, they made it obvious. They made mine obvious, and they picked me like the third one.
Fair.
They had me like in a gown and stuff like that. The most awesome thing about that day, another person that was one of the strangers, as they called them, was Stan Lee.
Whoa.
And the contestant, I think they weren't sure at first, but he was identified about halfway through.
He's so distinct looking.
Yeah. And that means that he was back in the, I'm out tent waiting before, we were all released to leave. So I actually got to talk to him a little bit.
What
was pretty cool.
What was that like?
He was a pretty cool, eccentric old guy.
Yeah.
And this was before the MCU really took off. But I mean, obviously I knew who he was.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a hard person not to know.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool that, if you do the Kevin Bacon game, my connection through Stan Lee gets me to a whole lot of people.
True.
Yeah.
Man, LA is such a wild place.
It is. You never know what's going to... I was almost run off the road once by Ernest Borgnine. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess for people who don't live in that area, sometimes they forget that all these people still have to go to the grocery store and the DMV and, check their mail and
yeah, they
still got to do people stuff.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess you just never know who you're going to run into.
Yeah. And I had Gavin MacLeod's son and daughter were in choir with me in high school.
Yeah. I guess that's a whole other level of it.
Yeah.
You went to school with people who became...
Technically, I went to school with Valerie Bertinelli, but she was already on TV.
Fair.
So we didn't see her a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just dipping into sports for half a second, the quarterback of my high school football team was John Elway. Who knew, right?
Yeah. What? That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. I'm sure we could dive into just that aspect.
But we're not going to.
But no, totally not. Now, I saw in the notes here that you had been a longtime private student of David Romano.
Yes.
And I just would like to hear more about David.
David was fantastic. He was, first of all, he looked kind of like Pavarotti. And just, you know, the Italian heritage, loved opera since he was a child. Just basically your stereotypical old opera queen. But he was a great teacher because not only did he tell me how to do things, you know, and fix issues, he had a great ear. So, you know, he could tell me how to adjust something to make it sound better, give me a little tips and tricks. Yeah. But he also made me actually work. And there were I had maybe 2 or 3 teachers before him after college. My college teacher was great. And then I looked around for a while. And these other teachers were just like, oh, that's lovely. Keep doing that. And I'm like, you're not giving me anything to work with. If it's so lovely, why didn't I book that last audition? Yeah. David never took excuses, and he worked me hard. And I'm grateful for it because even now, I hear his voice in the back of my head occasionally, you know, saying, stop being lazy, do it this way. I'm like, okay, yes, David, you're absolutely right. So he was wonderful. That's another Josh Groban connection because he ended up being Josh Groban's first real serious teacher.
Whoa.
Yeah. Toured with him the first couple of years of his career.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I figured if you were learning from him for a long time, he must be a pretty impressive person. Yeah. Now I want to ask about somewhere outside of LA. You spent a little time in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Wow. I love Vegas. I really do. So my husband was there first. My husband's an actor. His name is Greg. I know you know that.
Yes.
Your audience does not.
Shout out to Greg.
Yes. But he had done an audition for a place called Caesar's Magical Empire. This was back when, you know, magic was all the rage in the 90s. And it was this really great place. They ended up not marketing it well. It folded pretty quickly. But Greg was out there for a year. Then he came back to LA. And about 6 months later, there was an audition for Star Trek: The Experience.
Yes.
He did that audition. He was hired immediately, first as a Starfleet officer, and then he actually became a Klingon.
Okay.
About 6 months, maybe not even that long, into that gig, he talked to his boss. You know, when you're going to audition new actors, my girlfriend, because we weren't married until a year and a half ago, for people that don't know. But basically, he got me an audition. The guy liked me. He hired me. So I ended up relocating. And after doing the Star Trek thing for probably about maybe a year and a half, that's about the time that the Venetian Hotel opened. And for the first 6 months the Venetian was opened, the gondoliers were all men. Because that's what it's like in Venice. Yeah. And, you know, they wanted the authenticity, as authentic as you can get on a 1/3 size gondola in a canal in what's basically a shopping mall.
Yeah.
But again, 6 months in, there was some turnaround. A lot of the guys they had hired, they could sing. They were basically, you know, musical theater people or, you know, triple threats sometimes. They learned a couple of Italian songs. And they did very well, and they were good with the one-on-one discussions with people that, you know, paid to take the gondola ride.
Yeah.
But then when they were auditioning again, I went in, and I'm like, you know, it's time you break the gender barrier here.
Yeah.
And what worked against me was the guy who was hiring, perfectly fine gentleman. He came from a dance background, and he was, you know, more of a showgirl producer type. And this is my opinion of what I think he thought. Basically, any woman over a size 8 was going to be useless to him. I am not a size 8. I never have been. However, there was also the gondola manager and the Italian coach, both of whom realized I would be an asset on the canal because I can sing more than just the pre-rehearsed songs that everyone knows. I actually took requests.
Yeah.
But also, I think the term they used was ballast. I was tall enough and had enough body weight that I could control the gondola. There were two other women that were, more petite dancer types that trained. But it never really worked because it was difficult to control the thing.
Yeah.
I never had an issue once, I learned how we're doing this, how the I'll call it an oar because that's the common term. How it's a remo. Yeah. But I learned how to do all that, trained the rules of the canal. And there were some customers that did not want a female gondolier. And credit to my colleagues on the canal. When that would happen and someone jumped in front of me, they made sure to go slowly enough that their passengers could hear me. And it was very nice. But yeah, I was the first woman specifically hired to be a gondolier at the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah. It was cool. I loved doing it. And 10 months later, the producer guy was underbid on the contract and we all quit in protest.
That'll do it.
But it was still cool.
Yes. Now, how long was Greg in the Star Trek production for? Was that?
He actually left Star Trek before I did because he also became a gondolier.
Oh.
But instead of being on the inside canal ride, he actually became kind of a Vegas attraction because he was in the outdoor canal before they took passengers out there. It used to just be, we'll have a gondolier out there singing. And people walking by on the strip could see him. I mean, his competition was the Mirage volcano across the street.
Fair. Yeah.
And that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So he was there before I was. And then we both left the gondola program at the same time when they lost the contract. We actually had a couple of very nice winnings at bingo that kept us going for about a year.
I just recently found out that you can make a bunch of money playing bingo.
You can if the numbers are in your favor.
Yeah. Had no idea.
Yeah.
Had no idea.
Yeah, we had a couple of 5-figure jackpots. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that and unemployment kept us going.
Yeah.
And it wasn't every day, that's for sure.
No, definitely not.
But yeah, during that time, we were both looking for other stuff. I ended up doing 2 auditions in New York, 3 in LA, and I got all 3 jobs in LA. So that's when I moved back. And he joined me about 6 months later because of some family issues. But, we were never like broken up or anything. It was just, okay, we were in the same town or we're not.
Yeah, you were working.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. Now, from your time in Vegas, are y'all nightlife people? Like, did you enjoy Vegas as the place that it is outside of that? Or were you mostly just like, all right, we're done performing. Let's go home.
We're actually table players.
Gotcha.
So we would often go out, sit at the tables. I mean, my game is Pico poker because half the time you're just pushing.
Yep.
And you can sit there for a very long time with the same stake. But there are also, some side bets with some big payoffs that if you hit them, it's really, really nice.
Okay.
When it comes to club scene and stuff, we were a little older than that demographic.
Fair.
Saw a couple good concerts there, though I honestly couldn't tell you what. I think most of our bigger concert experiences have been back in LA or going to New York to see shows.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I have a very love-hate relationship with Las Vegas because I don't gamble.
Yeah.
So it makes it hard to enjoy half of it. I'll have to tell you an off-camera story about my dad's mom and an experience there in Vegas, but that won't be for here. Now, I do want to kind of shift this more towards more internal questions for a moment before we move into the next bit. Now, you've been doing this for a while. It's going on for a long time. Have you ever run into any hurdles that were like big enough to the point where you ever considered getting out of it?
Well, the pandemic was one where I thought I'd work again.
Fair. We'll omit the pandemic because we can just leave that out of our minds.
There were some frustrating experiences along the way. Nothing that came close to pushing me to just saying, enough of this, I'm done. You know, I want to quit when it's my time to quit. We're getting closer to it.
Fair.
But I've still got contracts coming in. So, and I used to do a lot more auditioning for other projects outside of LA Opera. I don't do that so much anymore. I've got my 3 steady gigs, LA Opera, and then another thing that classical singers do, we sing professionally at churches. So I have a Saturday gig and a Sunday gig. I probably go to church more than a lot of people I know. But the bonus is I'm actually working and being paid to be there.
Yeah.
So
I feel like more people would show up to church if they got paid to be there.
Well, yeah, you know, it's an obligation. But I got pickier about my church gigs. My very first one was, I won't name the denomination, but it was an older building. We were up in the back in the choir loft overlooking everything. And I just watched the service because it wasn't the denomination I was raised in, but it was close. And I'm like, it's just a big game of Simon Says. Does anyone actually mean anything they're doing? The 2 that I'm at now, in the back of my mind, when I accepted each of those gigs, I was like, the second I hear something from that pulpit that I vehemently disagree with, I'm out.
Yeah.
And so far, I haven't. They're both, you know, one is really nice and open and liberal and loving and stuff. And the other, for that particular denomination, is pretty open.
Okay.
There are some that aren't.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Okay. Well, that's really that's a cool insight. Thank you.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, I've had some office gigs along the way. But I mean, in the 80s, I worked in the offices at Disney Studio in Burbank.
Fair.
But actually, it was when Greg and I got together. He's like, you know, you could make your living just performing if you do it right. And I'm like, okay. And I did a lot of that.
Yeah.
But, you know, now it's mostly just my 3 regular gigs. And I'm happy with that, you know, because I've done so much else.
Yes.
I still get the call for an occasional other thing. There's a composer that I've done 2 world premieres for him, and he just reached out last week saying, oh, I've written this one now. Do you want to come play? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome. Do you know roughly like how many like productions you've been a part of? I know it's kind of a loaded question, but like ballpark.
Yes and no. For LA Opera, I have done 144 productions as a member of the chorus.
Oh, you need to update your IMDb.
There were
90.
Oh my gosh, that's an old bio. I will edit that. Yeah, I hit 144 this past May.
That's incredible.
With 4 more booked this season. But in the earlier days of the company, and also when I was younger, they would use the choristers in like either small roles or medium-sized understudy roles. So I got to learn a lot of repertoire there. I don't include those even when I was on stage, maybe about between 5 and 7 times I had tiny roles that were actually, you know, not from the chorus that were on stage. But they were also kind of blink and you'll miss them. One of them I had 9 notes on page 3, but I was on stage the whole show.
True.
So outside of that, gosh, I've got no idea.
That's okay.
I mean, there's at least 20 more, but I'd have to really think about it.
Yeah.
And that's not counting concert work.
No.
So.
Oh, man.
There's a lot of that, too.
Putting in the work. Now I know where I get it from. Now, do you have a favorite song to perform?
It's not opera.
That's okay. It's like, of all of music, do you have one?
I don't know if I could make it one. There are a few.
Top 5?
Yeah, probably. And these, I actually do get a chance to sing at my Sunday church gig because basically that gig is me and a piano, and I kind of had free reign about what I do. I love How Far I'll Go from Moana. I sing Xanadu. Corner of the Sky from Pippin, which is one that I couldn't sing until transposable sheet music became a thing. That it was the best invention of my musical lifetime.
Yes.
I'd say those are the top three. I know there are a lot more, but I'd start rambling too much.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, before we move into the next portion, this next question is probably the densest question in the interview.
Yeah.
But, we've definitely talked about your experience with music, the actions, the reactions. But when it's just you and music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
Relaxation and reignition of passion at the same time. I love going back to the familiar stuff. If it's me performing, especially, even if it's just in an audition, there are a couple of, I've got my go-to arias that I just absolutely adore, that I think I perform well. And whether or not I, really, quote, relate to them or not, there's something about them musically that speaks to my soul. Yeah.
That's a great answer. Also, I understand that last part very well. I've never heard anybody really articulate it before. So thank you for sharing that. All right, but now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well. But this first one is pretty straightforward. If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive.
Okay.
That's it. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
Honestly, probably Lin-Manuel Miranda. He's innovative, Even if I was just to witness his creative process, I have no idea how he's come up with everything that he's done. And if he just happened to have a piece to be sung by an older, more classical focused voice, I sure wouldn't mind that.
Okay. Now, subsequently, and this might be a tough one to answer because I imagine you know many people at this point, but is there anybody local that's on your radar that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to? And I mean, I guess I know all the famous people are also technically local, but
yeah,
let's go below A-list.
I've been really fortunate to have worked with a lot of people in LA, some people that are doing some really innovative stuff. That being said, is there anyone I haven't? I'm sure there is. I just don't know who they are yet.
That's all right. That question was more just because I was curious if there
Okay.
if you had one person specifically, or if just everybody because you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, I've been really lucky. I've worked with a lot of excellent directors that are just thinking up new ways to do things. I mean, there's he's not in LA anymore, but there's this director named Yuval Sharon. He put on an opera in LA that took place in cars. The people that bought tickets would move from one car to another, and a scene would act out in the car with them. Fully sung.
Whoa.
It was, I didn't get to go to it.
Yeah.
Brother George did. That's the type of stuff that he loves. But I had worked with him prior to that because he was an assistant director on a couple of shows at LA Opera before starting that company. And now he's running Detroit Opera. And I think I know that he's on the schedule for the Met this season. Yeah, that's cool stuff. There's another guy in LA. I have worked with him. His name is Josh Shaw. He runs a company called Pacific Opera Project, or POP. And what he's been able to do on a shoestring budget is just amazing. And he will update a lot of the shows that he decides to perform with modern day English translations and putting it like in maybe a different setting or something unique. The show I did with him was actually one of the few traditional things he's ever done, and it was actually, I think, the first drama he ever produced.
Interesting.
I mean, he's done some since then. But as an example, he took Gilbert and Sullivan's The Mikado, which, it's usually, faux comedic, probably bordering on racist, Japanese stuff. And it's this, Gilbert and Sullivan were late 1800s, early 1900s. They were sort of the pub music of the day. But he's just updated all that stuff, and he put his Mikado into like a K-pop world. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was a great show. I went to see it. He also has a Mozart opera, Abduction from the Seraglio, which he's put in the Star Trek universe. Greg is about to do his third production of that with Josh early next year. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the opera itself. It's really dated. This guy has a harem. He kidnaps this beautiful woman to be in his harem, and then these other people like rescuing her and stuff. But it's kind of split between original series and Next Generation in the Star Trek verse.
Interesting.
With little doses of some of the, other series. It would be impossible to get them all in now. There are so many.
Yes.
But it's just great because he's making the work more relatable to the public.
Yeah. Well, the stories are still there.
Yeah. It's the same music.
Yeah.
It was a lot of it is that particular one. It's the translations. They're still singing some of the stuff in the original German, or are they? I don't know. They might be singing it in English. I forget. It's been a few years.
Yeah.
All the dialogue is in English. But what they do, pretty much every opera company, they'll have super titles, which is, the screen above the stage with the translation. But they're modern and people are laughing at it again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've worked with them, but they're really awesome.
Hell yeah. Well, everybody, know what to do. At them in the comments. Let's make that happen. For this next one, like I said before, sky's the limit, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about things like crowd access or building stability or power or anything like that. Guaranteed the best show, guaranteed the best settings. It all works. Where would you want to perform?
I guess every opera singer dreams of singing at La Scala in Milan, Italy. It's premier opera house. It's the home of Puccini, basically. Yeah. That's a pretty big venue. In the U.S., it's the equivalent to the Met, but probably higher.
Gotcha.
On the, opera singer mind.
Well, I imagine it was the original big venue for opera.
Among them.
Yes. Or early. Early bigger venue.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably 100 years after Mozart, but Mozart had his courts and stuff like that.
Yes. All right. And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday, who would you want an album from?
It would have to be someone dead because it's not possible. And I gotta say, Jimmy Buffett, his last album was great. All of his albums have been great. I'm a little junior parrot head. I know more than the songs you know by heart.
Fair.
But, that was a heartbreaking death for me. And I'm happy that we were getting a new album at that time. But I'd love to hear more.
Yeah.
And I'm sad he's gone.
I fully understand that. I feel the same way about a very similar Jimmy.
Yeah.
It's Jimi Hendrix, for those of you that can't see on camera, because it's off camera. All right. Now, normally, this is where I start wrapping up the episode. But I've known you for a long time. You've known me for a long time. I just I want to know more things. I don't know that I have more questions. So before we start closing this up, can you just share any like outstanding moments from your time in music? Something that just something that really, it just means something.
I was in the backup chorus for the 1984 Three Tenors concert at Dodger Stadium. It was pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
Not so much because of them. I mean, yes, fine, package deal.
Yep.
It was lovely. I saw their backs the entire night. Touching back on the MGM musical things, Frank Sinatra was in the audience. Gene Kelly was in the audience.
Whoa.
Bob Hope was in the audience. And they all had close seats, and I could kind of see them. I was pinching myself the entire time that I was doing that gig. First time at the Hollywood Bowl was similar. It wasn't the performance itself, but it was like, wait a minute. I am on the stage of the freaking Hollywood Bowl, singing with the freaking Los Angeles Master Chorale and the freaking LA Philharmonic. I was only 25, 26 when I did that. But that first time, and then just experiencing that as a young person, as opposed to the jaded old fart that I am now. I look back on those memories and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I did a lot of really neat things, and I'm just glad that I was right place, right time, and able to do them.
Very much so. Growing up, I worked with somebody who they said, you have to prepare to be lucky. And I think this whole experience has been just a perfect example of that. But now that we have come to the end and it's my show, so I get to say things, I just got to say it's such an incredible story that I wish I had known earlier in life. But also just like reading the things that I read today, it's amazing how much you have been able to let music exist in your life, how you've been able to just be a part of all of this. But the way you talk about it, you talk about it like it's just a room you've been relaxed in, even though clearly you've been doing the work. The comfort, the presentation, the level of care that just comes out of every sentence you've said during this interview is amazing. Not only that, it's inspiring. It's so cool to know that you have done so much for music, with music, and it's just nice to know that exists further in my generation. So this is a big moment for me. I'm tearing up a little bit. I'm saying it on camera, but thank you for coming here and just letting me hear this story.
Thank you for inviting me. I don't know if I'm the oldest person you've ever had in this chair.
You are not.
Okay.
Yes.
But when I heard that you were even interested, I'm like, why? Why does he want to talk to an aging opera singer turned union activist? But this has been great, Yeah. And you set up a very relaxing atmosphere. Plus, I haven't seen you so long, and it's just great to talk to you.
It's been quite a while. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up officially. What can we look forward to for the rest of the year?
Right now, it's doing my staff work with the union and trying to help artists a little more behind the scenes than being one of them. I'm set to go back on stage in late October. Puccini's La Boheme, LA Opera. They're also doing that same opera here in Portland. So if you're curious about Rent, La Boheme, go see it. But yeah, that's the rest of this calendar year. And then we'll just see what the next email brings.
Yes. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here? And I'm sure the list is long, so you don't have to. But if there's anybody you would like to mention while you're on.
I mean, right now, I'm just thrilled to be up here, even though it's literally for one night.
Yes. And
the fact that I get to see you and several more family members And I'm including Bridget because she is family.
Oh, I have a story to tell you about that off camera too.
Okay. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm hoping to get up here a little more often, see you guys, plus possibly doing some work. We'll see what happens. But other than that, I love my husband, Greg.
Yes.
That's about it.
That's all right. That is more than plenty. With that being said, then, I have one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation. But in all of music, what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? So it's a bit of a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
Can it be associated with a film?
Yeah.
In 1974, Brian De Palma's The Phantom of the Paradise. The music was all written by Paul Williams, and he plays a major role in the film as well. And I just love it, not only because, you know, if you just listen to the text of the songs, there's a lot of meaning in there. But film-wise, it's kind of, I've always considered it an homage to Hitchcock, and some of the other, you know, early films, because of course there's Phantom of the Opera, but there's also a little picture of Dorian Gray. There's a Psycho scene. There's just all kinds of stuff. And the film itself, it was not all that popular when it came out. The one place it was Toronto. And they do festivals up there.
Oh, yeah.
Still to this day for that film. I just read the other day they're going to attempt to make it into a stage musical.
Interesting.
For 2027. Paul Williams is still involved writing the music. He won't be in it, but he's involved. I was taken to see that film about a year after it came out at an art house theater by my brother George. I don't know what made him think that I would like it, but he was right. And it is, if I could only pick one film that was my absolute favorite, or one soundtrack that was my favorite, it would be that one. And a lot of people don't know about it. And if you get the chance, give it a watch. It's not that long, and there's lots of little hidden gems, especially if you're a film fan in addition to being a music fan.
Interesting. I'm going to have to check that out. Thank you
Please
for that,
do.
Rick. All right, but with that being said, we are going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It has been my pleasure.
Yes. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Jennifer.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.